In today's video, I'm sharing with you 10 books that changed my life, plus a bonus one at the end. If you're new here, hey, I'm Healthy Emmy. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you want to improve your state of well-being. All of the books that I'll be mentioning today will be linked in the description bar. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer is a book that made me feel so empowered and in control of what goes on up here. And I felt liberated from self-limiting beliefs that may hold us back. In the book, Michael Singer teaches us how to detach from what goes on in here and the voice that's up here, and how to view that free of judgment, how to look at it from a sense of control, understanding, and compassion, as opposed to the mind being something that keeps us in a jail, that we are frustrated with, that we feel to be the victim of. So if you have voices that go on inside your head, if you have self-limiting beliefs and thoughts that keep you trapped, you must read this book so that you can regain control of the voice inside of your head, be liberated, and experience freedom from being weighed down by the incessant nuisance of self-limiting beliefs that can pound you day in and day out. Michael Singer is a man who has had such an impact on my life, and I'm sure he will have the same on yours. He also has a podcast. He has another book called The Surrender Experiment, which really touched me. My mom and I co-read it when we were on vacation. So I read it and she read it and we discussed it. And this was a super impactful book for me as well, because I like to have control. And what the reality is we have no control over what goes on in this world and how our lives are going to go. And we have convinced ourselves that we do have control, and we'll do things to try to grasp control on the absolutely uncontrollable parts of life. And this goes into the untethered soul as well, the concept of letting go, letting life happen, and learning how to roll with life and how to ride the waves of life, as opposed to fight against the current, exhaust ourselves, and lose the battle. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is one that I actually have a physical copy of. And if I have a physical copy of it, you know, it's the real deal. The minimalist to me is like, what are we doing with this paper thing? If you are somebody that tends to overestimate the worst case scenario, get lost in the future of what if, and you spend so much of your time worrying about what's going to happen, you must read this book. This book, of course, teaches us how to appreciate the present moment and to stay in the present moment, to ground ourselves in the present moment, and to remind ourselves that the future does not exist. And if we worry about what's going to happen, we only suffer twice. In alignment with Michael Singer and the Untethered Soul, Eckhart talks about how we will have this voice inside our head that we automatically assume to be us. We assume everything that the voice inside of our head says to be true, and how neither of those things are true. We are not the voice inside of our head, and everything that that voice says is not automatically fact. So this will reinforce and reinstates the principle that we need to separate ourselves from the voice inside our head, be the observer of those thoughts, and not automatically align ourselves with those thoughts and be in the jail of those thoughts. If you are an anxious worrier about what's going to happen, you must read this book. The next book is Grit by Angela Duckworth, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. What this book discusses is that it is not just innate talent that is going to allow us to be successful, but it's the determination and the sustained efforts over time that will allow you to be successful. There's the saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So it reinforces that principle, as well as saying that if you want to be successful, you need to do the hard work when it feels difficult. And you're not going to be successful if you only do things when it feels good. As I talk about with my clients, motivation is doing things when you want to do them. Commitment is doing things when you don't want to do them. And the reality is that if we want to be successful at something in the long term, we have to be committed and we have to do it when we don't feel like doing it. Something that she talks about in this book as well, Angela Duckworth, is the do the hard thing rule. And that families, kids should actually be encouraged to choose one difficult thing to do that they have to stick to over time to help cultivate the skill of being able to stick to challenges even though they're difficult. In that same vein, the next book is The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter. We can't be comfortable all the time. We live in a world that is so starkly different from the world that 99.99% of the human race has experienced, which is we are comfortable all the time. You're sitting here watching this video with your tea in hand, you have the heat on, you have the AC on, you're in shelter, plenty of food. We are a little bit soft. And 99.99% of the human experience through all of history has been one of extreme discomfort. They were out there just trying to get by, just trying to survive. And so we no longer use that skill of sitting with discomfort. And something I talk about with my clients quite often is that if you want to be successful, you have to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if we want to be comfortable all the time, we're not going to grow. Discomfort is part of the growth process. And it's only when we enter a state of discomfort and challenge and adversity that we're going to get to the next level. So when it comes to making lifestyle changes for my clients, they have to sit with the temporary discomfort that comes with making this change in pursuit of a long-term goal. You're going to feel discomfort either way. You're either going to have the temporary discomfort that comes from making a change, or you're going to have the chronic discomfort that comes from a year from now, you're in the same exact spot because you continue to choose temporary comfort, temporary comfort, temporary comfort. But if you can become comfortable with being uncomfortable, you will grow and you will succeed. The next book is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And to be honest with you, I don't think you have to read this entire one. I think you can just learn what the four agreements are. And the four agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. My favorite from these four is don't take anything personally. If there is one passage from the book that I would suggest reading, it would probably be that one so that you can understand why you should accept that truth, that nothing should be taken personally and nothing that goes on in this world that happens to you is about you. What Sally says about Susie says more about Sally than it does about Susie, and how people treat others is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. So if somebody is very rude and standoffish to you and you say, oh my God, what did I do? That person hates me. That has nothing to do with you. That's because that person is hurting internally. And something that Jay Shetty said in his book, Think Like a Monk, is that when you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. So when somebody is negative and feeling very painful on the inside, they will be negative to other people. So I do love that agreement from the Four Agreements of don't take anything personally. Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach is a great book for anybody that is very hard on themselves and is very self-critical, and also people that really try to control what's going on. Hi, hello. This book was perfect for me. Not only did it allow me to accept what is and to release control and let go of what's happening outside of me, but also to practice more compassion with myself. So if you're somebody that, and this is very often the case with my clients, they are very hard on themselves and have trouble sitting with the fact that this is where they want to be and this is where they are now. They have trouble accepting where they are right now and also are very frustrated with themselves for where they are right now. So this book will help you and will help my clients with accepting where they are on their journey right now and being compassionate with themselves as they inch themselves along to the person that they want to be. The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. If you struggle with self-sabotage, this book is a must read. While I personally am not one that identifies with really grappling with self-sabotage, I more so am I push myself very hard. I'm very critical on myself. That's the pain that I like to bring upon myself. But if you find that you struggle with self-sabotage, I highly recommend this book. And I have consumed this book and read this book because it has been so powerful in helping my clients that struggle with self-sabotage. What I really admire about this book is how the author encourages you to take responsibility. All right. So the things that are happening, the sabotage that you see yourself falling into, is not because you were destined to be a failure. This is something that you can control. And so some people will say, oh, I don't know if I want to accept responsibility for the self-sabotage. Or we could look at it as something empowering, that this is within your control. If you are controlling the sabotage, you can control to do something different instead. It encourages you to become aware of what you're doing and the habits and the behaviors and the patterns that you keep falling into, and how to reroute those towards success instead. Recovery by Russell Brand. I could not make this video without including this book. I love Russell Brand, and this book specifically is written in accordance with the 12 steps of the 12 Steps Alcoholics Anonymous program, as Russell Brand struggled with every type of addiction that you could possibly struggle with. He struggled with it, and he is now completely clean and sober. He has been for a very long time, coming on maybe 15 years of sobriety. He is a spiritual mentor of mine that I highly admire and respect, and his transformation is so admirable and proves that absolutely anybody can break free from their addictions and be an inspiration to others. I personally have not struggled with addiction. I work with a lot of clients that do struggle with addictive tendencies and behaviors around food specifically. I have loved ones and friends that have struggled tremendously with addiction, and I see how devastating of a toll it can take. And I do also appreciate that addiction is a spectrum. And so you watching this video could be functioning perfectly in society, but you could have your own addictive tendencies and behaviors around food or drinking or whatever it is. And even if you don't have addictive tendencies around food or drinking, you do have behaviors that you probably wish you didn't do, but you keep doing them. And I believe that this book can be applied to that. You will take something from this book, even if you don't identify as an addict. There's one line from the book that I repeat to my clients all the time, and I'm going to pull it up here. And if you're a client of mine, specifically my master's program clients, you may have heard me say this one because I just love this line so much. And I open right up to it because I have it highlighted. Do I want to peruse? Okay, so Russell Brand, he's had every addiction under the sun. And there are times when he's tempted to engage in addictive behavior. And he says, do I want to peruse this avenue, this boulevard lined with trees, apple laden with old temptation? Is this going to be good for me? Or should I observe my breath, slow down, pick up the phone and share with somebody that I trust that my mind, my naughty little mind, was about to fling my life off of a cliff for 15 minutes of mild amusement? You've got to listen to this audiobook. Don't buy the paperback, listen to the audiobook, because it's read by Russell himself, which doesn't surprise me because, of course, he's like, I want to read it. I don't want anybody else to get the glory. I love this man. You will laugh. He's hilarious. He's a comedian, so you'll laugh during the book. It removes the barrier of Alcoholics Anonymous being something intimidating and hard to relate with. He makes it super relatable and also empowers you to do it in a way that feels good for you. This I know for sure by Oprah. This book feels like this. Everything's going to be okay. Oprah has that way of making you feel like everything is okay. And the audiobook is definitely one that I recommend. You can actually get this one on YouTube. At least the time that I listened to it, I did listen to it on YouTube. And it's a great resource for read it once, get a feel for it. And then whenever you feel like I just need that feeling of, your mom hugging you saying everything's going to be okay, this book can serve as that. So if you didn't have that relationship with a parent, or if your parents are no longer with us and have crossed over to the spiritual world, then this book can serve as that feeling of everything's going to be okay. I got you. In this book, Oprah shares stories from her past and what she learned from those stories. So it's cute because it's anecdotal and you can hear the stories and then you hear what the takeaway was. And she'll say, this I know for sure, whatever the life lesson was. The Starch Solution by Dr. John McDougall. I have an entire video that goes over the key points and takeaways from each chapter of this book. But if you are not somebody that has explored the field of nutrition and you want to make improvements in your nutrition, you have to read this book. And then the last book, the bonus book, is actually The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hildebrand. Let me explain. I am not saying that everybody should read this book. The reason why I'm saying this book changed my life is because of the impact that this book had on me. This book truly ignited my love for reading. It just, something sparked inside of me when I read it. This is just a novel. But when I read it, I said, there's this whole world of fiction reading that I've never explored. I never identified as a reader growing up. That wasn't my thing. And I sort of developed this self-limiting belief that I wasn't a reader and, other people are reading girls and I'm just not one of them. And then I read this book and I said, this is so fun. All I could think about was the book. All I wanted to do was read it. I was thinking about the characters as I was going about my day. And I was just so enraptured by this book. I was so inside of this world. And I wanted to crawl inside of it and live in it. And that was the first time I had ever had an experience like that. And it was so exciting for me because then there's this whole world of reading that I have to discover. There are millions and millions of books that I haven't read. How exciting is this? I was so positively overwhelmed in an enjoyable way. And then I discovered my new hobby of reading fiction. I love reading novels. And to have that hobby and to have that little escape, a healthy form of escape, was beautiful for me. And I joined book clubs and I just discovered this whole new world. And so the reason why I put this book on the list is because I want you to find a book that gives you the experience I had of discovering the fictional world of novels. This book was my welcome into the world of reading. And I love reading. I read a lot of novels. I read every night. And I would like to do videos about the novels that I'm reading, just to share with you, the fun stuff. So if you'd like that, leave a comment and let me know. All right, I need 2 things from you in the comments. Number 1, if you enjoyed this video, comment more, please, and like this video so that I can know to make more of them. And also, if you would like to, leave another comment and let me know what your favorite book was. It can be anything, a novel, a self-help book. I love you, honeys, and I'll see you in my next video.